For me, I'm just thrilled to see Stafford and the Rams stay together. It just seemed to be the smart move, right? Like that.
And I loved how they handled it. I loved how Sean handled it. How they did it in a really, because you could see that it was, you could get really offended. You've seen teams screw this up, and they were very open about it. Matthew was open, like it was how you should handle complex situations, and so smoothly. It says a lot about the management of the Rams and the coaching the Rams, and it says a lot about Matthew as a kind of a guy that's been around a long time. Knows that I don't want to end up in a place that can't, thrive with, for the quarterback. I don't want to end up in a place that, in my career, just kind of bouncing around, like, no way. So I thought it was handled really well, and it does seem like the marriage that makes a lot of sense. But it puts Aaron Rodgers in a tough spot, right? Because that's where, if Matthew goes, then it makes a lot of sense that Aaron Rodgers shows up in LA.
So what would be your 2 cents of solicited or unsolicited advice for Aaron Rodgers, Steve?
It's really tough, Rich, because, as I said, you don't want to bounce around the league and people don't understand. One thing Aaron has always had until recently was a great team, great understanding of the quarterback position, innovative minds, great play callers, stuff that, I had that, it's a blessing in quarterbacks' lives. And you don't want to go to a team just to finish your career, to give it another shot, that doesn't really have an innovative young mind that can call the plays and the protection that you need, and the athletes around you. So there's not many spots. That's a hard one, and you're not going to go back up. So it's a really tight spot right now.
And what about your own personal experience, about your own end game scenario for your career, and how, he's going back and forth about exactly what you said, but also feeling like he could still do it, I would imagine, Steve.
In today's game, he was trained in a more sophisticated era. He can take advantage of it. If you get the right people in the right places, I mean, that's what Matthew Stafford's doing. He's taking advantage of being trained in a more sophisticated area. Now you can just take it. Because Tom Brady, at the end of his career, I saw him in one of the games in Tampa, and he's like, Steve, like, I mean, today's game, the flats are always open. The middle of the field is unpatrolled, and no one can hit me. Like, let's go. So, yes, Aaron Rodgers wants to keep playing because he can thrive if he gets the right situation. It's just hard to find that spot. For me, at the end, Rich, the toughest thing is you're one of the best in the world at something. And then it ends at a young age, and you wake up the next day and you say, what am I great at? Because the thing I'm the best at is no longer. What am I great at? Nothing. What am I even good at looking forward? Maybe not much. I've always said, when your career ends, the dream is shattered. You're the bag of bones at the bottom of the cliff, and you've got to start. And Roger Staubach was the one that told me my advice when I was retiring. He said, Steve, just run away. The game will never leave you, but you've got to run. And that's the best advice I can give, because it's a death. You have to treat it as a death. It's a death, and you got to go through all the processes of death, because it's what you're best at.
Man, Steve Young here on the Rich Eisen Show. I mean, the Giants reportedly interested in Rodgers. I mean, wherever he goes, I guess he could try and bring Davante Adams with him. But
we've seen that movie, right? We've seen that, and it's just like, you got to have. Look, Rich, you can smell a great spot for a quarterback, and they're getting more. Like, I would go to Jacksonville right now with Liam. Like, I really believe in his mentality and how he sees the position. Now he's got to go play it out as run the organization and run the whole thing, which is not always the easiest thing to do. But like, they're great, they're better places. Although I'd go with Kellen Moore down in New Orleans. Like, there's not jobs to be had, and that's where you got to find that match. And it's just right now, it doesn't feel like there's a seat with the music playing.
Well, I mean, Daboll's a terrific offensive mind. No, I mean,
look. There's a philosophy, and I think it's very sound. And 10 years ago was really probably prototype, right? We're going to play great defense. We're going to run the football, and we're going to respond with a passing game that's really efficient. Okay. But the game, like, there's all these open areas now on the field, like what I just explained to Tom Brady saying. It's like, because you can't launch, defenders can't launch into anymore. They have to bring their legs to the tackle, slowed the game down, made much more space in the NFL, made it more Canadian-like, right? And it made this, and so you got these innovative minds that are putting people in places and even the quarterback in spots to take advantage of it. And I would think that the Giants is really an offense that philosophically is not ready for that prime time.
Well, I'm hunting and pecking. What about the Raiders? Right? I mean, just Chip Kelly, and there is Brady. I mean, in the owner's suite for Rodgers. What do you think about that?
I think that one is possible only because it's, like if I just can't retire, I can't. The game's too rich for me right now. Not only for money, but just how I could thrive. I can see you say, look, I can go to in Las Vegas. I can finish. There's a Flash there. There's Pete there. There's like you said, there's something to be said about it, but it doesn't feel like they're ready to give him the protection and the weapons to go do it. Now, you bring Devontae back.
Yeah. Well, or what if you bring Devontae? What if you bring Devontae to Pittsburgh? What about that with Arthur Smith, Steve? Do you think that's a fit?
I feel like Pittsburgh is what I just explained about the Giants. Really good regular season, beating up people rank and file, getting there and they're just not built for today's game. I don't know how else to say it. It's just not that it's built for success, but not for Super Bowls. I guess that's how I describe it.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.